Hello, I am Rachel, teacher healer, mystic, with part 2 of your empath training, your empowered empath training. Okay, so last time I spoke a bit about how you know if you're an empath, what you're here to do, which is to do you, and why it's good to empower yourself rather than sitting in the background all the time. So today what I'd really like to talk about is boundaries. I want to give you talk about why they're important, what they are, what healthy boundaries are, some practical tips and some energetic tips, because I'm obviously an energy worker as well as a hypnotherapist and coach and all of that stuff, who takes actually a lot of pleasure in the psychology of life. Like the workings of the mind really, really fascinate me because they are the key to our health, our mental health, our physical success, all of that stuff. Those inbuilt mental programs and systems. Say hi. If you're there, I can see some of you are there. Hello. As we go through, if there's any questions, I'll pick them up when I can. If I'm going to cover it in a different episode or it will help me with a different episode, then brilliant. So boundaries, what are they? Boundaries are our limits. Hey Kerry, there are limits. Hey Tracy, hey Jane, are outside. These kind of that feeling. Empaths end up going one of two ways. One is everything's really painful and really difficult and I need to completely revert into myself because I find everyone overpowering, their emotions overpowering, and I find it really hard to assert myself, or I can feel into it and everyone's a complete arsehole and I don't want to be part of that and I'm going to revert into myself. And with that come a lot of issues around over-independence, which are a trauma response, and lots of things like that. The other way that you can do is just to kind of go through life. Hey Leslie, almost feeling like you're moving from one crisis to another. And when we do that, it's because we're kind of sucking up and picking up on other people's emotions. Not having the correct boundaries in place means that we're quite often overwhelmed. Many of us will kind of probably be somewhere on the spectrum, and many of us will produce children that are either slightly on the spectrum, on the empath, or they're quite far on the spectrum. And I'll be talking about the next generation of empaths and those in the spectrum as we go through. You're more sensitive than other people, basically, my lovelies. And so you have to treat yourself as though you're a little bit more sensitive than other people. And sensitivity is a good thing. So I'll be talking at different points about trying to heal and understand your mindsets. So, so being empowered and going, I am sensitive, and that's good. And if you're not, that's your problem, is a really important mindset to get to. Being proud, being fiercely proud of your sensitivity. Okay, so we end up coming off in one of two ways. Sometimes when you end up feeling like you're being pushed from pillar to post, you end up manifesting physical illness because of the overwhelm. And the overwhelm can be anything from ME, chronic tiredness, fibromyalgia is a common one, if depression, mental health issues, anxiety, because we're kind of still feeling the weight of the world. And that's the problem with the boundaries, is we're still feeling the weight of the world. Our boundaries aren't yet healthy. Okay, now what happens is when we're kind of young, we kind of establish a pattern, and for most of humanity, there's either passive or aggressive. There's nothing in between. There's either dominance or submission. There's nothing in between. Empaths are actually in the middle, which is why you freak a lot of people out. You might get a lot of jealousies and that type of thing. You're actually in the middle because you can see both sides. When you empower yourself, you find your voice. And when you find your voice, what you enable yourself to do is to talk about the other side and to broker stuff and to allow people to see the alternative reality of what they're currently thinking is the truth. So a lot of us end up with illness because we're weighed down by a lot of what's going on. Hey Siobhan. So this is why it's important to have boundaries. What boundaries look like in our real life are us going, actually, I don't fancy doing that. I don't fancy doing that. And somebody who maybe doesn't respect you gets very funny with you, gets very narky with you. Or you can feel the energetic backlash from it as well, which happens. Hi, Laura. You can feel the energetic backlash. That's one thing, is just saying no to the stuff you don't want to do. Reasons why you might not want to do something can be anything from I just don't want to, it doesn't sound like fun. Hi, Nicole. I'm not in the mood for it. I actually want to be able to relax tonight. I feel overwhelmed. I need some headspace. I need some time alone. Being able to change your mind. I know that I said yes to this, but actually I don't think that I can do it, or I don't think I can do it in the way that I need to. So for a lot of empaths, when we first start saying no, we end up saying no to an awful lot of stuff, which is why you can then get in the caught in the trap of completely cutting yourself off, which is not where you want to be. The idea is to start saying no. You leave open a great big space and you can invite in what you need. When you've got healthy boundaries, you're leaving space for the right things to enter your life. That can only happen if you create practical space for it. If you keep saying yes to helping people out or to being around that friend who's really energy draining, then it makes it really, really difficult. Healthy boundaries look like being able to say what you want and what you need, and other people listening to that. You might have issues with that initially, other people hearing you and seeing you, because they're used to this old version of you. They're used to this version of you that, you know, just takes everything and doesn't say no and feels bad and feels guilty. And that's our biggest issue, is that we can feel other people's pain. Now, what we need to also do is to start using our intuition and our instinct and recognizing signs and patterns and using wisdom alongside our empathy. So empathy is a really amazing tool, but you need to start using it as a tool, which allows you to step back and go, they feel really bad about this. Why do they feel bad about this? Well, they were looking forward to spending the day with me. You know, they've got a lot of issues going on, but this person always has issues going on. This person never seems to move past those issues. As an empath, you're a natural healer. You've actually got an ability to look at the situation differently, and you need to offer those people advice. And sometimes that advice is listened to and people move forward with their lives, and sometimes it isn't. And when you get into those cycles where you're continually giving people advice, helping people out, and they're not helping themselves out, unless you absolutely love doing it and you're getting a great amount of joy from helping them and from doing all of that stuff, it becomes draining. And you kind of get to a point in your 30s and maybe in your 40s where things, and, you know, I'd be really interested to hear, you know, how many of us have got to the point where you've ended up having to have an emotional breakdown, a mental breakdown, a physical breakdown as in I'm really, really ill because it's just got too much for me. Your body's gone, you're not listening to the signs. You're not saying no. Now, we always think that the ability to say no comes from our throat. It doesn't. It comes from our lower chakras. And that's a lot of the stuff that we as empaths have difficulty connecting into and dealing with. So the more you heal those lower chakras, the more that you explore your humanity, the more that you understand that it's okay to say no. Not everybody needs to like me. It's okay to upset people sometimes, but that's okay. You know, that we were talking last night actually in Real World Spirituality about the difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is making somebody, you know, being kind, and, you know, not being kind is being like sweet and, you know, being nice to somebody, and that's polite, and that's something you say for strangers. Those people, if you really love them, then you do sometimes need to be honest, and that could be actually Jane's like, me, I had to lose the plot, I had to be laid down on the floor, grief stricken, over myself before I kind of realized there was a problem. Yeah, I've been there. It is tough. The people that you want in your life are people who you might find draining, but who actually, if you see them once every few months, it's okay. That's the space that they can fill, as I see them once every few months. The issues that we get into is that we end up feeling so drained. We don't feel empowered enough to say what we need to say because we're worried about people disliking us or upsetting people. And what happens is that we then end up spirit need to basically cause a catastrophe with that friendship or in your life in order for those patterns to stop. So you might find that, it gets to a point where you end up having an argument rather than saying to somebody, I've said to you several times no, and I really feel that you put a lot of pressure on me, or I really find it uncomfortable when you keep on buying me stuff or paying for things for me, because it makes me feel beholden to you, and I don't want that dynamic. So I know you love doing it, but I need to say no. I need you to stop doing that. Those conversations, if you can have them earlier, it's going to be better. You'll be surprised as to how many people are going to be reasonable about that. You don't need me to tell you that if somebody is unreasonable about that, even if they have a tantrum immediately, they might come back around and go, sorry, I was a bit of a dick then. No, you're right. You should have time. If they don't want you to have that time, then there's a problem with them, and it's their problem. And as empaths, it's very difficult for us to understand that. We want to help people process all of their stuff for them. And we hold that energy and we hold that emotion and we process it for them. We quite often process it through physical pain, emotional pain, tears, that type of thing. So you're going to find that you are more teary because you're quite often feeling other people's pain for them. So if you find that you're in almost, sometimes people with bipolar will find that they're empaths who are picking up on stuff up and down. Boundaries mean saying no. And what that means is if you can't say no, to leave space to say yes, then you need to be looking at those lower chakras and healing them, understanding what's going on with your mind. It's quite often patterns set in childhood. Why do I feel the need to please people? And quite many of us were brought up quite normally for our generations, or even for some of the younger generations, and certainly for the older generations, where you had to be good. Emotion was a bad thing, whether that was being angry or whether that was being sad. Those are bad things. So you weren't taught to handle and to use your emotions. You were shown you only get love if you're positive and happy and shiny and all of that type of stuff. So for a lot of us, those patterns are set in childhood, and that's no blame on anyone who's parented us. That was the way that parenting was done, and it still is done. And I'm sure plenty of us go, oh my God, I've just done a total guilt trip on the child and said, I can't, it's too much. I can't deal with that. You need to calm down. You need to shut up. Or you can go to your room if you're going to behave like that. All of those things are things that we were raised with, and those are the things that we're healing within ourselves, and hopefully then healing for the next generation as they come through. The other thing that will happen is when we shut ourselves off, or when we're overly independent, and over independence is a trauma response. Trauma doesn't have to be one event. It can be a succession of things that went through our childhood. When we're overly independent, and empaths tend to be overly independent, it's fine, I'm all right, I can deal with this, because you have been able to deal with this, because you're connected, because you've generally been able to just suck energy from the universe. And it's got to a point where your body's gone, oh yeah, your spirit can suck that stuff, but you know what, I can't, and I'm feeling this emotion and I'm feeling this pain, and that's why your body ends up giving up. This over independence also you need to then start inviting in support, inviting in help, inviting in to fill in those spaces the right stuff, the right people, the right situations, your hobbies, people you fancy meeting for a coffee. Do you fancy going for a coffee? Might be somebody you haven't seen for ages. It might be somebody new in your life. And inviting in to fill in that space. Any of you who are healers will know you don't just rip a load of stuff out of somebody and go, off you go, because that space is just going to fill up with negative energy. It's going to fill up with rubbish. We want to put something wonderful in place instead. And it's exactly the same way with your boundaries, your borders, your friends, those people around you. You want to fill in that space. So you want to be looking for the opportunities, and the universe will give you those opportunities. And it is difficult, again, to maybe ask for support, or to say to somebody, I'm having a really tough time at the moment. Do you fancy meeting for a coffee? I might not want to talk about my tough time. I just want to break from my tough time, and for you to know that I might not be a load of fun, but it's okay. And those are the people that you want in your life who aren't going to judge you. The more you reach out, the more you're going to test the waters and know who are the right people and who are the wrong people. A lot of this is going to be you learning for the first time that stuff that other people got quite easily, which is, they haven't got my back, they can bugger off. They learn that as kids, as teenagers. They learn to kind of not just read people, but to act on that reading. As an empath, you're more likely to be very accepting of people who are odd and strange or have dark sides. And you need to decide where that finishes and how much energy you have to give them. If you find you've got stuff going on in your own life and you can never address it because you're doing everything else, you need to readdress your boundaries. And those boundaries will shift and change. Like I said, initially you find yourself saying no to a lot, and then you find yourself opening up again. And there'll be times when you need to rein that back in again. You're giving from an overflowing cup. That's the easy way to give, is from an overflowing cup. The more love, the more joy, the more friendship that you invite in, the better it is. Something we were also talking about last night was sort of the wheel of the year and setting seeds and working with the goddess for a year and a day. Coming up to Halloween and Samhain, the air is thin. You know what I mean by the air is thin. The air is thin, spirit can get close. This is a really good time to kind of do any ancestral healing around family stuff that you want to let go of. Calling in your ancestral line, I can't deal with this anymore. You guys need to take back however you created this, and working with them. You're not working for them, working with them. They need to take back their responsibilities. They can do their soul's purpose, and you need to give it back to them as well. Most of us are going to find that the stuff we're working through is absolutely family related stuff. Yeah, because you're born into your family line for a reason. So now's a really good time to be thinking about healing. And also, spirit are close. Think about a goddess that you might want to work with for a year. Kali. How many people are scared of Kali? She is kick-ass, but her primary function is to help you find your voice. You don't need to go to war. If you've told people beforehand what the issues is, where everything lies, and you've done that communication before. She only goes to war when she needs to. She only wreaks what she needs to from the gods and brings it down to earth when she does, because it's got to that point where things have got out of control. She will help you find your voice. She does a huge amount of work with your throat. Kali is amazing. Yes, Kerry, she is a mega fierce mother energy. She's like, say what you need to say, don't take any rubbish, blah, blah, blah. She's really good for helping reinforce your boundaries. The Banshee is also really good for helping you reinforce your boundaries. And any goddess that comes in on that vibration, so last night we were talking about Ceridwen, she will do that. Freya, again, will do that. Hecate, the underworld goddesses, the ones who aren't scared of the dark because they're like you. They're not scared of other people's dark stuff. They're not scared of, they felt everyone else's pain. God knows how much extra pain I can throw on this. I feel it all of that dark stuff I feel. But they teach you how to deal with it and how to cope with it as well. So working with one of these goddesses will genuinely really, really help you, because they're not afraid of this dark stuff. So there's, speaking to a deity and asking a deity to help you, having a little image of them somewhere on your phone, on your altar, somewhere where you've got all your woo-woo stuff, wherever. Some of your oracle cards might have a goddess on them, or some of the tarot, like the High Priestess, the Empress, some of those divine feminine cards where it's going to bring through that energy. Okay. And every time you go to do healing, asking them to come in and say, I'm still working through my boundaries. I've noticed today that where I particularly struggle to say no is in these scenarios. And remembering that, sometimes not get halfway. Something I really recommend to people is to get halfway. My halfway point initially was, I need to check my diary. I need to think about this. I need to check with my other half. And it gives you that get out where afterwards you can go away, gather yourself, think of something to say, and then say it. I work with a lot of people who have difficulties voicing what they need to voice. It does take practice and it does take time. So it's not going to come easy and it's not going to come quickly. A year and a day of working with the goddess, for me, when you work through a year, it's got all of that energetic stuff. Those cold winters where you're sort of facing the darkness, the bright summers where you've got more energy and you want to go out and about and invite a lot of this stuff in. So you'll find that when you first start working through it, you're building your foundations, you're building your boundaries, you're learning to say no. The second step is going to be inviting that lovely stuff in, saying yes to everything that you want to say yes to. And that includes things that you want to do with your life, job, career, hobbies, friends, situations, you can then start filling that in. But you've got to start asking for support, and you've got to reach out to people as part of that. And as you fill those spaces in, it gets easier and easier and easier. So honestly, like the first couple of years of doing this was difficult. I did feel really lonely when I was doing this. Spirit had a really good way of literally chucking people out of my life when it got too much, because it was too much. And a big situation would blow up. I remember when I was 25, my boyfriend and I split up, and my best friend, who I'd been friends with for about 4 or 5 years at that point, you know, one of those people that you're there for all of their trials and tribulations. And when it came back to me needing support, she literally told me it was too much to cope with. And I was shocked. So, you know, I then really struggled to find anyone else to fill that gap. I had to do a lot of this boundary personal work where I was saying no before the right people started to come in. And it is one of those things where we've also got to remember that friendships ebb and flow and change, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to be sat in each other's pockets all the time. You might see somebody then, you might see somebody another time, you might be texting each other like crazy for 2 weeks and not speak for a couple of months. It's fine. When we remember that we're spirit and we move and ebb and flow out of each other's lives as we need to, it's good. And when you've got other people who understand that as well, it's even better. So that's what you're looking for, is your like-minded souls. And as you pick up your like-minded souls, you're recreating your bit of heaven around you. You're literally recreating Elysium around you by inviting those people in. So expect this to be a good couple of years of you looking at your boundaries and then putting yourself out there until you get your balance, which is going to be somewhere in the middle. So take time with it, heal with it. Getting yourself to those halfway points. I can't say no, but I can say something in the middle, which is I need to check, I need to find out, or actually I've gone away and I've checked my diary and I can't do it, or I'm really sorry, I haven't got the time, I haven't got the energy. Phone that person up. If it's easier to text or easier to phone, build it in so that in the end you're saying things to people face to face. So take your time with it. Text might be easier, phone call might be the next stage, face-to-face might be the last stage. Don't expect to go from 0 to hero around this in one step. It doesn't. Take those steps. Take your time doing it, okay? Energetic stuff I can give you to keep your boundaries up. Visualizations, where you're visualizing, and actually it's something I'm going to be putting in Practical Magic Coffee Club because it's a really good one, is my boundaries visualization. Who you want in your inner circle. Who's going to be sat there by the fire next to you over winter? Like, this is a really good time to be readdressing who you're going to have in by your hearth, in your home, in that energy that you want to keep over winter. Who's going to shore me up? Who's going to be there for me? Just in the same way that I'm going to be there for them. Okay, so you're looking at this has been a really good time to do it. Who's going to be in my inner circle? Outer circle could be massive. It could be, you know, a lot of people are in it. It could be quite wide. Some people are closer, some people are further away. That's your community and your wider community. They don't, you know, it's going to be people who are, you know, with you some of the time. You know, you might see them once every 6 months. It doesn't mean that those people are going to be people who you want to be your best friends. There might be something in their energy which irks you and you go, oh, I don't know why, but there's something a bit weird or a bit creepy. And I don't quite get that. I don't quite know. All that I know that gut instinct is telling me is not that they're a bad person, it's just that they're not my inner circle. They're not my people. They're not my people. Okay, so that could be somebody who is in your community, and it could be that some of those people, you need them to fall off the edge of the Arctic Circle. So that's my third circle, is the Arctic Circle. Those people who at the moment for now I really can't cope with. Like, I see it as a flat earth, and there's another flat earth on the other side, and they can go around the little ice cap and they can go, oh, and there's another reality down there for them. That's what you want to visualize. And if you have trouble in that visualization, pushing people away who you know you want to be away, there's going to be two things from that. One, they might need to be around you for a reason, but if it still feels, use your tools are your key. If it still feels too much, if it still feels overwhelming, then you ask spirit to come in and help you with that. You know, call in Michael. He's great with boundaries because he helps us face our fears and push those people away. I'm not one for cord cutting in the traditional way because it don't make no sense. We have energetic cords. We have energetic connections to other people. That is how it works. It's when those cords become overwhelming. that there's a problem, okay? Which is why I do the circle and the inner circle thing, allowing a flame to burn up and burn away what needs to be burnt away, so that anything, that relationship can then reattach in the right way, which might be, like I said, you see them once a year at Christmas, whatever. I'm talking about family there, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about all family. We've all got those family members who you'd very happily just see once a year at Christmas. It's about having them in the right place that allows you to love them from where they are. When they're up close and you're in your face and it's too much, that's when you need to be thinking about allowing them to move away. I'm a big one for empowerment, not protection. A cloak, which makes you feel freaking awesome, doesn't hide your energy, it doesn't make you feel like you're all invisible. A cloak that empowers you, makes you feel strong. I've got one and it whips around the kids when it's a busy day. In my head, it whips around the kids when it's a busy day. It might have some gold. It might have a lovely, like, filigree gold neck bit and that other bit, and it might be velvet, and it might be red, or it might be green, whatever suits your energy. It might be like made out of like delicate gold chainmail, but either way, darling, you are going out and you are looking fabulous in your cloak. That's the vibe that you want to go with the cloak, okay? And that cloak can be pulled up if you need it to be, if you're in a busy place. And when you're not, you can imagine that falling back down. Regular use of that will enable you to use it quicker and to use it more effectively. These are all things that you need to, and if it doesn't resonate with you, then don't do it. Do something else. If you're going for bubbling, that bubbling needs to be filled with your energy, not like armor plated. It needs to be so that you're as visible as you is right for you in that moment. And it needs to be filled. It needs to be absolutely filled with your power, your energy, all of that type of thing. So you're drawing yourself up from the earth, because that's where your human power lies, is in the earth. Drawing that humanness up, letting it fill your bubble. This is me. Either I've got a no mess with me face, which is the school run. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for my kids, and not just to pick them up, but to sort all the rest of the stuff that goes out with kids being at school. I like their teachers. I don't need to be friends with their teachers because I need boundaries with them. I need to be able to step away from that. Doesn't matter how much I like him, because I've got kids who have additional needs. And whether your kids have got additional needs or not, you're there for your kid. You're not there for somebody else's kid. That's my personal belief. They've come to me. They've not come to anyone else. I'm here to get the best for them. So there's going to be certain situations. It might be work. It might be the boss. It might be certain family members where your bubble or your cloak is going to look different and feel different to other times. And you remember, the more that you hide away, if you've got a problem with one particular individual where they're very domineering, doesn't mean you have to have a face-off. It doesn't mean you have to have an argument, because we all know there's massive power in silence. It allows you to step away from it. Don't be hidden. Don't feel like you're shrinking away, because that's going to allow them to step into that space. You're creating more space for them. You want to big your energy up, so you're creating less space for their crap. That's what you're doing. You're creating less space for other people's crap. I've got my high dimensional vibe here. I'm creating a nice big space around me. It's full of all this wonderful energy, which none of you want to mess with. You notice that people move out of your space a lot quicker as well when you do it. You see the way that people will be like, oh, mind out the way, darling. Yes, do, because my energy is big and it's coming through. And you know as well as I do, your energy is big, not in that negative way, not in that energy sucking way, not in that draining way, in that joyful, loving, high vibe, amazing way. That's what your energy is filled with. So why are you apologizing? Why are you stepping back? Why are you allowing other people to take up more space with their cruddy, heavy vibes? Okay? Bright, breezy, don't mess with me still. Have that little edge to it. You see where I'm going with this, yeah? So there are lots and lots of ways that you can use your energy to fill that space. Okay, lots of ways. Right, I have got more tips about sort of daily maintenance checks around energy, which I think I'd like to do with you guys next month. Just gonna write it down. Daily maintenance checks. About checking in on your own energy. What's yours? What's other people's? If there's anything else, hopefully you guys have got some starting points for visualizations, for daily things that you can put into place, for how you want your energy to feel. Like I said, you might be in a really busy, if it's town in the middle of Christmas, then you want those vibes up. You don't want all the weirdos coming into your space because we attract them. And if you're not in the right frame of mind, it's not good. If you're in the right frame of mind, it's fine. If you've got two autistic kids hanging off of you and a baby in a buggy, that might not be a good time to be inviting the weirdos in. If you're depressed or anxious or like in a real rush and you can feel your anxiety building, you don't want to open that space up for the weirdos to come in. Be in the right space for it. You're really welcome, Nicole. Whether you're a catch up or this goes onto YouTube and my Insta as well, let me know on the comments if there's other stuff that you'd like me to pick up on. But I'm thinking next time we do this, some daily maintenance check. What's mine? What's other people's? Learning to read your body properly. Learning what is mine. It's going to help you with your boundaries, help you give away what's not yours, etc., etc. Because for me, that's a really big thing. Like empaths, daily self-care to not going crazy. Right, my lovelies, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks, Tracy. I'm glad, guys.